Been a long time since I didn't wear a hockey jersey in a hockey video, but here we are. I wanted to now I got this. This was like a deal yesterday, so I ordered it. I thought, yeah, cool, all right, because I can't travel this year, so I might as well look festive and look like I'm traveling because I'm not going anywhere this summer. But hey, the nice thing is the NHL is not going into another lockout either. We're gonna have some sort of peace, and I'm hoping that it lasts. I'm hoping that when we reach 2026 in 6 years' time, that'll be after the alien overlords have been overthrown. That's after the giant ant people, and it's sometime after the third or fourth apocalypse between now and then. We'll get there. Hopefully, we have more labor peace in 2026 as well. Now, the NHLPA was officially formed in 1967, but there was a lot of fight against it. So the NHL owners really liked not paying players money, not giving them any money if they could avoid it. And players realized they were being treated like they were crap. And in 1957, Ted Lindsay did everything he could to get a union going. So, and I've talked about this in history videos as well, where basically Ted Lindsay was not only put in a position where there was no way to form a union, and the owners were undercutting him, but then he got traded to the worst team in the league, partly because he had the nerve. He had the nerve to try to form a union. They punished him, and that's why I find it kind of ironic that now we have the Ted Lindsay Award. Really, NHL? Because yeah, they basically blackballed Ted Lindsay and tried to kick him to the curb, and so. I think there's a lot of respect from players for everything Ted Lindsay did, rightfully so. The league, I don't know. So 1967, they finally get the union, but Alan Eagleson's the boss. Now Alan Eagleson, he talks great, and he got the 72 Summit Series going, and he was great at getting Canada Cups going and working all these deals, but he colluded with owners. And while he may have seemed like he was great for the game and for the players, and from 67 till 91, he was a popular public figure, people started to realize, I think he's crooked. I'm not sure where that money's going. That doesn't seem to work for me. So eventually in 91, he steps down. And it wouldn't be too long before he ends up being arrested, and he'd end up in jail. So Alan Eagleson, not necessarily the best person to run the union, but because he's running the union for all those years, there was never any danger of a strike. There was never any danger of any sort of fight going on. So Bob Goodenow takes over in 1992, and he would last till 2005, and he ended up being fired because he lost the fight against the Caps. So let's go through the dates now. April 1st, 1992, the players went on strike. This had been sort of bubbling under the surface. The players, because they go on strike right before the playoffs, they kind of had the owners where they wanted them. So the owners had to kind of capitulate here, and they did. The players made some gains, and as a result, John Ziegler's out of a job. So they get rid of John Ziegler, and they bring in Gil Stein. Gil Stein doesn't work out. He tries to put himself into the Hockey Hall of Fame. I was horrendous, and so a year after Gil Stein comes in, we get the first ever commissioner and current commissioner, Gary Bettman. So under Bettman, things change, and Bettman and Goodenow, there was a mutual respect I always felt between them, but boy, things got contentious fast. So October 1st of 1994, we get the first lockout, and this lockout was rumored to be coming in 93, but it held off till 94. So October 1st, 1994, the owners wanted a cap, and the players said no. That's the basics of it. There's all kinds of other details of all this that we could get into, but I want to keep this as simple as possible. And basically, it was owners going, we want a cap, we want cost certainty. And players said, you want cost certainty, the market sets the value. And that's what players said for ages. The market will set the value. And we had a situation where there were some teams that just couldn't afford players, and others that were spending to the nines, whether it was Detroit, whether it was Toronto, whether it was the Rangers. There were teams that were spending a ton of money while other teams couldn't afford it. So we come out of that lockout with basically the players getting the agreement there won't be a salary cap at that stage. So the players kind of win that, but not really, because the owners still get some clawbacks there. But because there's no cost certainty, we see Winnipeg move and Quebec move. And those were franchises that were seen as being right on the edge. And because we don't get a salary cap system earlier, that helps to speed up Winnipeg and Quebec ending up moving to Denver and Arizona. And so once we get up to 2004, the owners are pretty loud about needing an actual cap. So the first lockout shortened the season to 48 games. The second lockout wipes out the whole season. And it was the cap standoff. It was players saying, we will not accept a cap, and owners saying, you won't play again until you get one. The owners eventually get what they want. But so do the players, when you think about it. The players got 57% of league revenues. The owners got 43%. Now, I've discussed this before. The players' share is between, 600 to 700 players, and the owners' share is between 30 owners, 31 owners now, soon to be 32. So it's a little bit of a different scenario, but you can understand why owners get more money per owner than players get per player. And so we finally had the salary cap, but to get there, you lose an entire season. And the 92 player strike, people could look at and go, greedy players. Just get out there. You played most of the season. Why are you striking now? 94, again, it was players going, we don't want to play under a cap. And fans saying, greedy players. They should just go out and play. So coming out of accepting a cap, Bob Goodenow knows he's done. He's done. His job when he came in 92 was to make sure that salary cap never happened. So 2005, he resigns. He basically, we lost this fight. In acknowledging the loss, I'll step down. Ted Saskin takes over in 2005. Last 2 years. 2. And then it was discovered that he was accessing players' email while he was in charge and snooping. And so the players said, you shouldn't be snooping. Why are you snooping through our emails? What are you doing that for? Paul Kelly then takes over in 2007. And from 2007 to 2009, he's in charge. But there's a divide going on here. There is your old guard who do not trust the owners. That included guys like Eric Lindros, who do not trust the owners. And they're ready for a fight. And Kelly was of the mind of, maybe we should try to have some labor peace here. Maybe another fight isn't necessary. Maybe we should try to have labor peace. And there were players that said, we aren't 100% sure that Kelly's on our side, so they removed him. They fired him. They fired him. And then Donald Fehr was brought in 2010. And of course, he had been a representative for the Players Union in baseball. And we all know baseball doesn't have a salary cap. Baseball, also, we had seen numerous lockouts and strikes over the years, so there was a concern with fans that, hey, this isn't great. And Kelly, basically, when he left, he said, I wanted peace, and there were a lot of people in the union that didn't. He thought the union made a mistake. September 15th, 2012, we get lockout number 3. And that went on into January. And then we get a 48-game schedule after, when the owners win again. They get a 50-50 split in revenues. The owners will win these fights. They have billions. The players have millions. The owners can outweight the players. If hockey doesn't play, the owners will be fine. I think owners will be okay. Players, on the other hand, again, it's a totally different fight. They've got a wife, kids, and a future, and it is a completely different fight for the players than the owners. And with a group of 600 to 700 players, it's easier to make cracks form in that union than there is for the owners when you've got 31 owners, as is currently the case. So that brings me up to where we are now. Yesterday, July 6th of 2020, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt for it because, hey, it's vacation time for the lockout people. There's no fourth lockout coming. There will be peace till 2026. Now, there are caveats to this. This may not have happened minus a pandemic. This may not have happened minus a situation where both the players and the owners say, maybe now is not a good time to look greedy. This may not have happened. And yet, the reality is there's been a lot of talk over the last, I'll say, year about how the union didn't want to fight and the owners didn't want to fight. I think a lot of it is, when you look at the 92 player strike and everything that happened after, you had a lot of players that were involved in these fights and these labor strife situations that were still not trusting the other side. owners and players both, that just didn't trust the other side. Trust is really, really important. You look at Major League Baseball right now. The union and the owners do not trust each other at all. And you can have the argument about whether or not it makes sense for the players not to trust the owners. I understand the players not trusting the owners, but again, it's a very complicated scenario, and it's one that the NHL seems to be moving past. We can get to a spot in 2026 where for a player to have been involved in the last lockout, they would have to have been in the league for more than 14 seasons, 15 years altogether. That means most of the league is going to be made up of players who haven't experienced a lockout and probably aren't going to have an appetite for it. There's still a 50-50 revenue split, and I don't think there's any reason for owners and players to really necessarily fight. I know the escrow thing was something that we all kind of looked at and said, boy, escrow could be the big sticking point. But escrow, I don't think is necessarily as big a deal as the salary cap was to owners back in 2004. Or as big a deal as the 50-50 revenue split was in 2004. And again, that's the union versus the owners. Now, we don't know for sure that the players are going to vote in favor of this, but we're pretty sure they're going to. So in the event that the players reject this deal, we can come back and revisit this video and I can make a brand new one where I just set the board on fire. But for now, it looks like I don't need to. And that's a good thing. Labor peace is fantastic. At a time where other leagues are going through situations, and Major League Baseball is the most public one, but you're going to have labor strife in other leagues. Don't have it in the NHL. You're trying to expand your footprint in the U.S. You're trying to maintain it in Canada. Don't go on strike and don't have another lockout. So it's a good day. And it's nice to see that I won't have to worry about lockouts for some time to come. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.